Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about some potential alternatives to the Benchmade Bugout. Some that are cheaper, more durable feeling, that are less kind of plasticky. Some that are not Benchmade, just if you don't want a Benchmade knife. Some others that are Benchmade, or just some that are kind of in the same realm that you might want to consider looking at because they're rather similar and also popular as well. So just kind of being able to weigh your options. I'm going to start by talking about some imported knives, some foreign made knives. I only have a handful of those, and then we'll get into some more American made knives that are much cheaper or kind of competitors to or similar to the Bugout. So we'll start off with one of the more popular ones recently, the Kershaw Iridium. And this is Kershaw's, I think, first crossbar lock. They have a bunch now that are kind of falling into that line. So I'm not sure exactly what they're called. I think Kershaw Brawler might be one of them. But the Iridium was the first one. It's got aluminum handles, it's D2 steel, and I think it's made in China. Let's see if it says on there. Yeah, China. So, you know, that's going to be a lot cheaper. Maybe not as quite high quality as the Bugout. It's a little bit cheaper of a steel, but it does have those aluminum handles, and, you know, D2 steel is still a fine steel to get the job done. Kershaw Iridium is about 1/3 the price of the Bugout. So I'm going to be talking in terms of, you know, just the generic retail price that you'll find these at. This particular Bugout is $162 most places. The Kershaw Iridium varies from anywhere from $50 to $65, depending on if you get the blacked out version, just the standard version, or just kind of where you're shopping. So definitely an option. Again, check out, I'm not sure off the top of my head, I'll link them below, but there are a bunch of other Kershaw crossbar lock models that are fantastic. I have gotten the chance to handle them in stores, and their Duralock is, you know, it's not quite as smooth as the Axis lock, but it is a crossbar lock, and it is definitely durable, and it'll get the job done, absolutely. So I would absolutely recommend checking those out. If being made in the USA is not super important to you, I think the Iridium is a phenomenal choice, as well as some of these other brands. The Heist maybe is another one now that I'm trying to think of them, but again, I'll link them below, so check those out. Great option, especially if being made in the USA is not super important to you. Next up, another super popular foreign made knife is the CJRB Pyrite. Now, to be honest with you, there are a million different models of this. I don't know all the models. I think there are some without the thumb stud, some that are different, like G10 scales, maybe micarta scales. I'm not entirely sure. I know this is a really popular version. This is just aluminum scales, and I think it's AR RPM 9 steel. Yep, just had to check on the, on the blade there. But great knife, really, really thin blade profile, similar to the Bugout. So it's really gonna be good at just slicing through stuff. The button lock makes it not quite as durable as the Axis lock, so you can't really, you know, abuse the spine really hard and kind of hit on it because the button lock may fail. The action, again, not as great as the Bugout, but, you know, you're paying a fraction of the cost. So this is a great little knife. Again, I usually do not talk too much on this channel about foreign made knives, but if you're trying to save money, the CJRB Pyrite is a phenomenal choice. I've really enjoyed mine. Again, like the Tenacious that I'm about to talk about, I've thrown this at trees, dropped it, kicked it around, and done all kinds of stuff to it, and just took it apart, cleaned it, and it literally looks good as new. There's some scratches on the blade. I'm not sure if you can kind of see them in the light there, but it really has held up well. The steel, again, I'm not a huge steel guy, but it sharpens really, really nicely. It's very thin grind again, so you can get a nice sharp edge on there. So this is a really, really, really sharp knife, and it's pretty well made. So I've had no complaints with it so far, and I think they're like 40 to 50 bucks on Amazon. So again, I'll put all these below. I'll try to make it really easy for you to find what you're looking for, and I'll add timestamps and stuff. But CJRB Pyrite is a great knife, and I think, you know, they're all very similar. The ones I'm talking about are gonna be very similar in size to the Bugout. So definitely great options. Tenacious is a little bit bigger, a little bit stockier than the previous two. It's a liner lock, and it's Spyderco's foreign made, you know, brand, I guess. I don't know what to call that, line. This is from the China factory from Spyderco. So still, again, you're getting a Spyderco product, so it's very high quality, always phenomenal from the box. This is really, really sharp knife. Again, really scuffed up. I've cleaned this up quite a bit. There's still some mud kind of stuck in the plasticky handles, but great knife. I actually really like this. I wish that they made these in the USA, because that would be like the best knife ever to be made in America. Like it really is awesome value. In my opinion, the only downside is just the fact that it's made in China. The liner lock, you know, not as popular as it once was, especially in higher end knives. And you know, you're grabbing it and you're not going to accidentally disengage it. It kind of looks like that a little bit, but you're not going to accidentally disengage this. It's very durable. The action on it is not quite as good as some of the other Spydercos, and again, that's just due to the nature of the liner lock. So it's still a phenomenal knife. Gets the job done. Absolute workhorse of a knife. They have a million different models of it. This is just the cheapest possible model. This is just the plastic scales. They make G10. I don't know if they do micarta, but I know they do a bunch of different G10 and a bunch of different steels on it. So check out the Tenacious. If you've never heard of it, it is absolutely worth your time. It's a workhorse of a knife, and there's no way you'll be disappointed with it. It really is fantastic. So now we're going to move into the American-made brands or models that are going to compete with the Bugout. The first, and maybe one of the more obvious ones, is going to be the Spyderco Para 3. Kind of almost in the exact same size range as the Bugout. You know, you get like that 3 1/4 inch blade. You've got the plastic handles. It's the lightweight version. It's got a compression lock instead of an axis lock. So that's a difference. The steel is BD1N steel, which is just Spyderco's lightweight steel that they use in their lighter weight models. It's a great steel. I've had no issues with it. As you can see, the edge has held up very, very nice. I haven't used this super tough on anything, but just in terms of slicing and cutting things, it's been awesome. Touch it up, it looks perfect. It reflects light beautifully, and it, you know, it just holds up really well. Spyderco's coatings are also DLC coatings. So some of the Bugouts have coatings, but I believe they're all Cerakote. So Spyderco's DLC should hold up a little bit better than that coating on the Benchmade. But you can get these on sale. I think they retail starting at, I want to say in the 150 range. Maybe you can get a little bit under 150, just standard retail. But I got mine on sale for $100. There's sales on these all the time, more so than Benchmade. So just shop around for Spyderco sales. But they're kind of going to be close in price. The Spyderco is going to be a hair cheaper, but you know, Spyderco is raising their prices. So these are really, really comparable knives. So Spyderco is definitely another one to check out. The quality control of Spyderco, I think, is fantastic. So you're definitely getting that more so than Benchmade there. And the last big thing, I think, is just the blade shape is a little bit different on the Para 3. So maybe a little bit less versatile than the just standard drop or spear point that you'll find on the Bugout. The tip comes to a bit finer of a point than the Bugout, so it might just have a little bit less, you know, prying strength. You want to be careful you don't. I'm always worried with some of my Spydercos that I'm going to snap the tip off because they just come to a really fine tip. So just something else to consider. But the Para 3 is awesome. Shop around for a sale. I have on X/Twitter, I have a community called Knife Deals that you can join that I will post all kinds of sales and deals that I find on Benchmades and Spydercos and all kinds of stuff. So makes it easy for you to find deals. But we also have the just standard Para 3. So this is the G10 version. This is going to be, again, in the same price range as the Bugout. This Bugout in particular is 162. The other ones are all 180. And then some of the nicer ones, like if you want G10 aluminum or carbon fiber, they're all going to be close to $300, $250, $300. So these are, again, pretty comparable in price. I think the Para 3 G10 versions are actually a bit cheaper than what you would be paying for if you get a Bugout with this same kind of hardware. It's going to be, I want to say 180s, maybe 180 to 200 based on the pattern or coated blade, and they also make a bunch of other models of these with upgraded steels and such. So relatively similar. These are pretty much the two Spyderco's and Benchmade's like most popular models. So they're going to be obviously competitive with each other. They're same size, same use case and such. So absolutely both great knives. I would recommend checking out the Para 3. I love the Bugout and I got the Para 3 and it's absolutely awesome. So check out both versions, the lightweight and the standard G10. They make a bunch of different models and you definitely will not be disappointed with the Para 3. Next is going to be a little bit lesser known of an option. It is the Case Kinzua or Kinzua. It's actually Kinzua, but I know a lot of people say Kinzua. So it's going to be a little bit longer than the Bugout. It's got S35 VN steel compared to the Bugout's S30V. It's also got aluminum handles, which are great. It is a frame lock, so it's not the axis lock. It's a little bit less probably durable than the axis lock, but it is, again, you have those aluminum handles versus the plastic. I know these are on sale at Smoky Mountain Knife Works right now for $100. I think they're normally $130, $140. So again, in the similar range to the Bugout, but still a little bit cheaper. Not quite what the Bugout is. So, you know, anywhere from 30, 40, 50 bucks cheaper. This is one of my favorite knives, especially to use. I feel like it's almost indestructible just in terms of prying. It is a thick, stocky blade, and the frame lock, while being less probably durable per se than the axis lock, it still is for the average use. You're not going to notice that at all. This has been a fantastic knife. I don't know why these don't get more recognition. They're awesome. The flipper, I'm a huge fan of flippers versus thumb studs, so I really like the action on this. It's great. I've had this for a very long time. I think longer than my Bugout actually, and I've really enjoyed using it. It's got a nice stone wash on it, which I think is pretty nice. It's a nice touch, but I've been really happy with cases, frame lock, flippers, and some of their more modern stuff. The pocket clip on this sucks. So Benchmade's pocket clip is definitely going to be far superior to Case's, because Case has, I don't even have it on any near me. Case has the raised screws, which makes it a super pain to put in the pocket. So Benchmade definitely wins that one, but the Kinzua is a phenomenal model. Also, the Marilla, which is a hair more expensive than the Kinzua. So this is probably going to be more comparably priced to the Bugout, probably in the same range, like that 160 range. Again, a little bit bigger than the Bugout, but still, you get the aluminum, you get a G10 inlay here for some extra grip, S35 VN steel. So another great alternative to the Bugout. Very similar to the Kinzua. I think these are both worth checking out. I'm not sure why they're not super popular. I think they're phenomenally made knives, and I've had no problems with mine. I really, really, really enjoy using them. So check out the Case Modern line. You will not be disappointed with those, I don't think. Make sure you go hold one in your hand. We also have the Spyderco Native 5. So these are, again, going to be similar to the Para 3, lightweight in price. This one has custom scales on it. They're normally just these yellow plastic scales. So the same thing, plastic scales. However, you're getting Spyderco's MagnaCut steel. So huge upgrade from the Benchmade S30V. If you're a steel guy, again, I harp on this a lot. Steels are not a huge difference. I mean, yeah, you're paying for the extra steel here, but are you gonna notice a difference? Probably not, but it still is nice to have, you know you have the most up-to-date modern steel, which is cool. Spyderco Native 5 is a lockback, so not as modernized as the Axis lock, but still, time-tested locking mechanism. It locks up great. There's no blade play at all. The Native 5 does have a thin tip similar to the Bugout. Not quite as thin as the Para 3 lightweight, but it definitely is kind of getting more narrow towards the tip. So prying might be a little bit awkward, but the blade shapes for these are very similar. And the grinds versus the Para 3 lightweight, where you have that kind of weird thumb ramp here. It's going to be a little bit more flat and rounded off. So just a personal preference thing, but the Native 5 lightweight is a phenomenal knife, very popular for good reason. Lots of aftermarket support for that, and it's been around for a while. So another super underrated knife, my first pocket knife, the Buck Sprint Select. Now, this is Buck's budget version of the Buck Sprint series. So there's a bunch of different models within the Sprint series, but this particular model is going to be what I would consider to be the equivalent to the Benchmade, just because it has those plastic handles. This is going to be 50 to 60 bucks, depending on where you get it. Amazon, I think it's like 50. Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, 60. Other places, I have no idea because I've never looked there, but awesome knife. You have 420 HC steel, so pretty outdated, old school steel, just a budget steel, but gets the job done. Again, most of the time you have to maintain it a little bit more, but great knife, especially if you're looking for a cheap alternative in the same size range. Like, these look to be almost the exact same size in blade length. This is a frame lock, so again, not that Axis lock, not a super modern lock, but it locks up, it gets the job done. I actually don't mind the Buck pocket clip. I think a lot of people are not fans of this for some reason. It does stick up a little bit, so it's a little bit sharp on the part that's coming out of your pocket and hanging in your pocket, but not really been an issue for me. I'm not a huge pocket clip user, but I do use this one, and I use it frequently, and it's fine. So absolutely think super underrated line is the Buck Sprint line. This is particulars, again, the Buck Sprint Select. This is the Buck Sprint Ops Pro, so G10. This was on sale for $100. I think they retail for like 140. This particular one's discontinued, but they make micarta and carbon fiber ones that are 140 to 160. So those are going to be priced around what the Bugout is priced at. They have the, I think it's S30V. So they have the same steel as Benchmade, the Bugout, but they have upgraded handles and their frame lock. So that's, again, just something to weigh the differences between. I really have been impressed with Buck's steel. I think they come extremely sharp, and I've been really pleased with the heat treatment on them. So I think they treat it very well. And they've been doing it for a very long time. So that's generally where that comes with. Fine, I'll show the carbon fiber model as well, just so you can see. I think this is almost the exact same price, if not the exact same price as the Bugout. So you're getting carbon fiber. This particular one is S45VN. You have a hollow grind. And again, just similar, almost the exact same blade length. So just a comparable knife to take a look at when you're looking at the Bugout. I think those are some great knives that are made by Buck. And I again, similar to the case ones, I don't know why they're not popular, just because they're not the super modern looking ones, but they're fantastic. Next, we'll move into some fixed blades. We'll just do, I only have two of these here that I kind of would put together, but the two SE knives that I've talked about a little bit on the channel that I absolutely love are, I kind of learned that this one, the Zancudo, is almost the exact same size as the Bugout. You've got G10 handles, you've got S35VN steel, and again, just a similar, almost identical blade shape and length. It's got that drop point or spear point blade in S35VN. The Zancudo is an awesome knife. It's a perfect size, in my opinion. Like, it's just a fixed blade Bugout is how I'd look at it. So definitely check that out. I think they're very similar in price too. I want to say the Zancudo's like in the maybe 130s, 140s range. So it's a little bit cheaper than the Bugout. So something to look at. The Azula 2 or the Azula, they're both relatively, I think, the same. I'm not sure what the exact differences are, but again, very similar in size. The blade shape of the Bugout, if we put it over, you can kind of see that. Much cheaper though. I think these are under $100. I think you can get them for like 80. And it's got carbon steel, so it's going to take a little bit more maintenance than your standard Benchmade would with stainless steel, but I think it's absolutely worth it. You can get a really nice edge going on the carbon steel. The Azula comes with a nice sheath, a nice clip. You can turn it into a neck knife with the lanyard hole or the hole in the sheath. Just all around two very high quality knives that are smaller, and I would honestly compare them to the Bugout just because they're so similar in size, and I think it's worth taking a look at those over some other options. And finally, we will end with two Benchmade knives. I'll kind of mention three, but the 940 and the Tagged Out. These are two knives that I think are vastly superior to the Bugout in their own respective ways. Maybe not in every way, but in their own specific ways. So the 940 is much tougher than the Bugout. The aluminum scales and the blade shape make it way better, in my opinion, for doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Prying, basically doing stuff that you're not supposed to be doing with a knife. The reverse Tonto blade shape, look how thick that blade comes to the tip, whereas the Bugout's real thin. So great all-around knife, very durable, but not particularly as good at slicing stuff as the Benchmade is, just due to that. It's just simply due to the blade shape. The Tagged Out is probably better than the Bugout for slicing things, but it is a lot less durable than the Bugout and the 940 for not knife stuff, just because the blade is so thin towards the tip, and it makes it a little bit less durable when doing stuff like that. But two great options to consider. The third one I'll throw in there is the Bailout. They make a Bailout in the plastic and they make a Bailout in aluminum. Both are great. I had one, I sold it, but I really did like it. It was a little bit less comfortable in the hand ergonomically than some of these other ones, just because it was so thin and the blade was the scales were so thin, vertically more so than like the horizontally, but a lot of people love it. It's a fantastic knife and just another one that's in that Benchmade category to look at. I think that should cover it though. Some other honorable mentions I think that I'll talk about are going to be the Gerber Sedulo and the Gerber Fastball. Those are Gerber's kind of everyday carry knives that are made in the US. The Sedulo is plastic scaled with a crossbar lock. made in the USA. I'm not sure what steel it is. It's either S30V or S35VN. So basically the same steel. And Gerber usually does a great job with heat treat. So check that out. Those are like 130, 140. The fastball, also same price range, but it's a frame lock flipper that is aluminum scaled. So another knife to check out that just, might be something that you like other than the Bugout. I know when I went to go buy my first Benchmade ever, I was set on the Bugout, and then I held it on my hand and I was like, this feels like a toy. This feels like a plastic piece of crap. So I ended up getting a 940 instead. So I absolutely understand the hesitancy to buy the Bugout. It's a very expensive knife that's just plastic, and it is pretty overpriced if we're just being honest. So I hope these options help you out. I have owned every one that I've talked about, and I've really, really, really enjoyed using just about all of them. The Bugout also itself is a fantastic knife. There's a lot of different variants of it, some that are coming out still. The Bugout has a lot of great aftermarket support too. So if you want to buy a standard plastic version, you can upgrade the scales or do whatever you want to. And I'm not going to say that it's a terrible knife. It's a great knife. It's just priced very poorly. So just all things to consider when you're looking at purchasing one. Hopefully this helped. If you guys have any other suggestions for knives that could be alternatives to the Bugout, just comment them below. Try and help some people out in this community. I kind of listed everything that I could think of, so I hope that's helpful. If you hate the Bugout, let me know, or let me know if none of these are really what you're looking for. I'm happy to try and help find you the right knife for what you're looking for and what you're looking to use, or whatever it may be. But I really appreciate the support. Again, for all this stuff, go check out the Knife Deals community on X or Twitter. I post sales there all the time that I just find when I'm shopping around. If you're looking for something in particular, if you're looking for a Bugout on sale, just let me know and I'll keep my eye out, and I'll let you know. I'll message you or I'll post it in there. Bugout sales, Benchmade sales, Spyderco, Microtech, Buck, all the American brands. I try to do all brands, but mostly American because that's what I'm shopping for. So check that out. And again, I really appreciate all of those of you who subscribe to the channel, who watch the channel, and who are active in the community. I really, really do appreciate it. So thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your evening or morning, whatever it may be.